Today, we go inside the humanitarian effort to help those affected by the tragic ice storm happening all over Kentucky's three-point line. It's time to wake up, college basketball! Hey everybody, and welcome to Wake Up College Basketball, presented by 4 Points, travel reinvented. Sitting beside me, once again, Tyler Tynes, SB Nation.
Yes, sir.
Showing off. Listen, there's got to be some muscle mass under there.
Man, I'm husky as hell.
It happens.
Come on now.
It happens to the best of us. First round's over. First round is done with. Not the most exciting first round, but it's still college basketball. It's still the NCAA tournament.
Wasn't the most fun thing. Everybody was trying to shoot their shot, Princeton and others, and it just, I feel like we were supposed to have like 16 buzzer beaters.
Yeah.
And we got like 16 missed shots.
Yeah, we had Middle Tennessee with the upset over Minnesota.
Dope.
That was great. They do it again. Last year against Michigan State, this year against Minnesota. Not hugely closely contested games. I mean, Notre Dame had a scare early against it was UNC Wilmington, who we said their uniforms sort of look like knockoff Guatemalan Michigan uniforms.
Y'all was haters. Them uniforms were dope as hell.
Listen. My eyes don't deceive me. I have very poor vision. Any performances specifically stand out to you before we get into looking forward based on what we've saw in round one?
I mean, I'm really sad for my mans at Vanderbilt who really hit that foul off Northwestern, because I'm not happy that Northwestern fans actually get to be happy about something.
Yeah.
So shout out to my mans at Vanderbilt, because like I'm really feeling for you, champ.
I am happy for you, Northwestern fans. You've waited a long time.
That's because Dan's a good person.
I'm a good person.
I'm not a good person.
We had that. Did you see the foul last night, the Seton Hall? If you missed it,
Yes.
Garbage call.
It was a
Completely garbage call.
It was a horrible call.
Shout
out to my sons in North Jersey. Y'all deserve better. I'm sorry for y'all though.
Sorry, Pirates. Sorry. So sorry, Pirates. So
I mean, who do we know in Arkansas?
That's true. That is very true. They score a lot of points. They
Shout out to the
scared
Clintons.
people.
That's cool.
Absolutely. Shout out to the Clintons. Bobby Petrino. I don't know who else is deserving of attention. But, so what we're going to do this morning, today, as we preview all things, we're going to take what happened in round one, look forward to the round of 32, and we're going to start with this. Quite simply, we've got a ton of good games. What is the matchup, I think, stylistically, that you're most looking forward to?
I want to see Wisconsin and Villanova.
Yeah.
I only want to see Wisconsin and Villanova for a few reasons. For the fact that Villanova does this thing every single year, excluding last year where they actually like got through the second round, where they lose in the round of 32 and they lose to a team that will match up with them that doesn't match up in the right way. So it's usually like a University of it was North Carolina State in 1 year, and this year it's Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a big body team. Nigel Hayes, Ethan Happ, on top of Bronson Koenig, who have a shooter on top of a few big bodies who can really do damage in the in-between and also in the front court, because of the fact that Villanova doesn't keep a lot of big dudes on their team. Outside of Darryl Reynolds, there's not too many 6'10" guys who actually like perform on this team. So Wisconsin has the matchup, but Wisconsin also plays a lot of slow basketball. Like we'll pace up the floor and be so begrudgingly slow about it. So if Villanova can speed this game up, if they can get their shooters wet early, Villanova can like win this game by 20. But the matchup says that they might not be able to do it because they're going to bang with those big bodies down low.
Yeah, Wisconsin coming off the loss to Michigan last week. And yeah, Villanova will always have 3.5 guards on the court. That is their identity. They're a volume shooting team. It worked last year. Wisconsin, do you remember last year what Bronson Koenig did to Xavier and Bill Murray in the crowd with that corner killer? I'm gonna look at this camera. This is my Bill Murray impression after what Bronson Koenig did. Oh, just death in the face. So yes, Wisconsin has their own killers. And Villanova has Josh Hart is as lethal as any player in the country right now. I think it's a hell of a second-round game.
It'll be a dope game, mostly for the fact that, like, not only are there stars, but on top of that, there's bigs, right? So you have Josh Hart, who's a killer. You have Chris, who's a killer. And McCall Bridges, and the way that Jay Wright sets up this team is the fact that, like, you have mismatches every single where, up and down the floor, so on top of bench depth. So Jay's not going to play maybe, like, more than 8 or 9 guys, but those 8 or 9 guys are all killers. They're all killers. So.
Yeah, and they've been here before. They've completely been here before. My pick, I'm going to go back out west because that's what I do. That is what I do. St. Mary's, Arizona. So this team when you look at this matchup, they used to scrimmage against each other, so they're very familiar with each other. Sean Miller's a big admirer of Randy Bennett, who plays nothing but Australians. Again, you love identity? That's St. Mary's identity. Australia. He just loves Australians. Matthew Dellavedova going back St. Mary's.
Shout out to Delhi.
To Delhi. And so these style-wise, Arizona's got the athletes. They've got the 5-star NBA-type talents. Lauri Markkanen had he had 20-point performance. They score 100 in the first round. St. Mary's, they're a defense team. They're a rebounding team. They set a ton of picks on offense, so they're efficient. They had something like 13 or 14 assists on 26 field goals. So they're sort of not rigid, but they beat everybody but Gonzaga, which is not bad, but it's the WCC. So we don't know what St. Mary's can do against a better opponent. I think they also lost to UTA, and if you're wondering, you don't want to get a UTA. UTAs will infect you, and they will do damage to you, so I'm okay with that. I think this game is going to be very fun. I think St. Mary's, Arizona, because you have that contrast in styles. Pay attention to Lonzo Trier. Pay attention to Lauri Markkanen, because this Arizona team could go home. This is crazy to think, but I like this game a lot.
Porzingis in the desert.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Okay, on that note, who's going home? You talk about Villanova, Wisconsin, and you're a little bit worried with all those stars in that game. Who's going home of a top 4 seed in the round of 32?
I never put money on Villanova. And I never put money on Villanova for the fact that they have a habit of getting knocked out early outside of 2009, outside of 2016.
Yeah.
So let's go with history here and say that Villanova is going to be knocked out by Wisconsin.
Wow.
The team, not that Wisconsin is a better team, Wisconsin is a better matchup. Nigel Hayes, Ethan Happ, Bronson Koenig, so many different players.
They're so different.
They all play great defense, matchup defense, and the one thing that Villanova has a habit of doing is once they get cold, they don't recover.
Right.
So, and a lot of teams do that, so it's not a knock on Villanova, but it's more so on the lines of the fact that Villanova has a habit of not being able to get over the hump of the round of 32. Mm-hmm. If they get over this hump, though, they're an Elite 18. That bracket is very, very easy, but Wildcats go home.
They're going home.
Wildcats go home.
I like to see. There's not any bias there with a Philadelphia native thinking.
They ain't Philly.
I know, that's what I'm saying. A south of Philadelphia team going home. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm going to ride with the Big Ten team as well. I think Michigan takes down Louisville. I think Louisville offensively, they're too shaky, and they need Dangabell and Donovan Mitchell to perform every week. And I think their last 6 or 7 games, it's win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. They have difficulty getting into a rhythm on offense, whereas Michigan right now, they're looking like the top 5 offensive team. Everybody on that team can hit threes. They can't guard against the 3, but here's the good news. Louisville can't really shoot. It's a really good matchup for Michigan, and as good as Louisville is defensively, and as big as they are, because they do have a ton of size, I like that mismatch for Michigan. I think that momentum carries them through.
And on top of that, you don't put bread on Quinn Snyder.
That's true.
Anything you do.
This is
Anything
no,
you do.
I have no idea what this means. No idea what this means. But I'm going to agree with it. Let's focus in even more. Which player at this point do you think, and there's stars everywhere, every region, every matchup, they have stars because it's hard to get this far without having a go-to guy. So who is must-watch TV for you now in the round of 32?
As South Carolina's about to play Duke right now, Sindarius Thornwell versus this actual really great Duke team, sans Grayson Allen, because we don't give him no love.
Right.
But Sindarius Thornwell is going to be a monster against Duke. The assumption is that he's going to be a monster against Duke. He dropped 29 the other day, and Sindarius Thornwell was the best player in the SEC by large, the best guard. But on this South Carolina team with Frank Martin and a bunch of dudes who are some unknown dudes, PJ Dozier, Chris Silva, this is not
Dozier's good. I like Dozier.
Dozier's dope, but this is not a stacked team for America's recognition, right?
True.
So it's going to be up to Sindarius Thornwell to really carry this team, drop another 30 monster, a little 30 burger, a little 30 and fries with no sauce. That's what he's going to have to do to get past Duke, because this Duke team is stacked from 1 to 5 and has plenty of bench depth up and down the floor. So it ain't about to be easy.
Right. So do you think he has enough to carry them past maybe the hottest team in the tournament right now? Or is it sort of like a 31 in a losing effort kind of
listen,
thing?
son, ain't about if you got enough. It's about what you're going to have to bring to the court.
This
all
is
right?
true.
You dropped 30 the other day, and again, the one thing I'm going to reiterate so many times is that it's March Madness. It's about guards. And guards are going to carry you through the tournament whether your team is good or not. So Sindarius Thornwell, I'm looking at you, son. You got to pull this together.
And Duke doesn't lose early, do they, in the tournament?
Oh,
no, they do. They do very much lose early.
Shout out C.J. McCollum.
I'm going to stay in the Southeast, and I'm going to go with Dwayne Bacon. Now, Florida State, they start out super hot this season. They start something like 18-2. They've got Jonathan Isaac is ridiculous, the 6'10".
Man, everybody.
They don't have the identity that you crave, but they are so athletic. They're well coached this year. They play really good defense. And if you watch that game against Florida Gulf Coast, this was not a Florida State team that was hitting a bunch of shots.
They was hitting a bunch of dunks, though.
They were hitting a bunch of dunks. Dwayne Bacon, as it was like a 3-point game, a 1-point early on, he was dragging that Florida State team to stay competitive. And then they opened it up in the second half a little bit.
And I told you,
Yeah.
Dwayne Bacon type player, you got to get out his way and just let him cook.
He is totally fearless.
Let that bacon cook, bro. Let that bacon cook.
And you can say his name. You can say Dwayne Bacon, and it just feels good.
It just feels so good to the soul. It just feels so good.
Watch Dwayne Bacon. He attacks the rim. The mid-range game is there. And if he's hitting from outside, they're going to be tough.
And again, he's the type of player, just like Jason Tatum, just like Sindarius Stormwell, that you give him the ball, you hit that ISO, and you let him go to work, whether it's weak side or strong side.
Right.
You give him a screen and roll with the clock running down, and you let him go to work. Pick and roll, mid-range game, elbow jumpers. He's somebody that is just so talented.
Yep.
Gotta get out his way.
And it doesn't hurt that Jonathan Isaac is so versatile and can spread the floor, too.
Jonathan Isaac, Nathan Reyes, Terrence Mann. There's so many forward to upper echelon 5-stars that's on this team that Leonard Hamilton has recruited so well that this Florida State team that has been a 20-win team over and over and over again since 2011 is finally getting their chance to shine. You just gonna have to still get out the way.
I'm going to talk to America right here. Make your free throws, Florida State. Xavier is really well coached, and we're going to get into that in a second. Make your free throws, and it'll be all right.
It might be.
It might be. On that note, which coach right now do you have utter and complete confidence in, no matter who he has on his team, in the round of 32 to say they're not going to lose because they're undercoached, something like that?
In this revamped Big East, this moved around Big East, this parody-filled Big East that PR campaigns are trying to tell us is so good. Ain't that good, Big East. But Chris Mack from Xavier is going to be a dope coach because he knows how to game plan with the best of them. He's one of the 10 best coaches still left in this tournament, and Xavier's not a team that I would count out in any measure.
Right, okay. I'm going to go back to the West Coast. Boom, back to the West Coast. I'm going Homer. I'm going with the Oregon Ducks. All season long, this was not a team that lost because of coaching mistakes. Maybe because of talent, they lose that game late to UCLA. They lose without Chris Boucher to Arizona in the Pac-12 championship. They lost a game, I believe, to Colorado. I think it was just sort of an exhaustion thing, not a coaching thing. But week in and week out, he has this team so prepared. They're a balanced team. They play really good defense. They're not as big without Chris Boucher, but Jordan Bell has improved greatly. He's developed really well under this staff. Dylan Brooks, Pac-12 Player of the Year.
Dylan Ennis.
Dylan Ennis, who is 37 years old.
Dylan Ennis, you 40, bro, but I love you, Dylan Ennis.
He's wonderful. His shoulders are bigger than Tyler and I combined as humans.
Dylan Ennis is husky, bro.
He's great. And you know what? He is a defensive stopper. He does a great job for this Oregon team, and they have a tough Rhode Island team. A Rhode Island team you like a lot. Defensively, Rhode Island is scary.
Rhode Island's real scary. Again, E.C. Matthews ain't one to mess with. E.C. Matthews will dunk on your kids, he'll cross your baby up, and he don't care about it, fam. E.C. Matthews is dope. And again, he's been somebody, just like a lot of these players in March Madness right now, that has been waiting to expose your favorite team.
This is
so I'm really excited to see Danny Hurley and E.C. Matthews about to just clobber and be in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
But back to Xavier real quick.
Please.
Xavier against this Florida State team is Travion Blewett versus Dwayne Bacon.
Yeah.
Florida State has way more talent, but Xavier is a coaching matchup that you like. Leonard Hamilton's a great recruiter. Chris Mack's a great coach.
Yep. No, and it almost feels like the Sean Miller. I mean, going back to Sean Miller and Randy Bennett. Randy Bennett's great coach. Sean Miller, great recruiter, has improved as a coach. I like those matchups. They're going to be insanely interesting. And Chris Mack has a small team against a big athletic Florida State team.
These Big East teams just don't like centers.
I like it. I mean, or Big East, former Big East, Notre Dame.
Somebody conference.
Pseudo Big East. Yeah, absolutely. And finally, let's go to, and we've got a fun exercise after this, let's go to your dream Sweet 16 matchup. And we have two teams who have a challenge here to get through the round of 32, but we agree on this because it's too tantalizing not to. So who is our dream Sweet 16 matchup?
Young Lepanto, Arkansas versus Big Baller Brand. So it's going to be Malik Monk in UK versus UCLA in the Big Baller Brand Lonzo Ball and my man's Young LeVar. So both of those teams are going to be great because dynamic guard play, up and down, you have great teams and bench depth. So these might be the two best teams in the country.
Right.
And it's unfair about the team in the Sweet 16. So this should be a great game if we get it. That's my dream matchup.
So you said if we get, or we're about to get this great game if we get it. Kentucky's got Wichita State, who they barely survived a few years ago when Wichita State was at the highest of highs with Ron Baker, Fred VanVleet, Cleanthony Early, a heartbreaking game for the Shockers back then.
D-League All-Stars.
The D-League All-Stars. Hey, Ron Baker is okay. He's not great.
Ron Baker's America's sweetheart.
He is America's sweetheart. And then, of course, Cincinnati is the team that could unseat Mick Cronin, a really nice team, a little bit of offense, something that they haven't had in recent years, going against the UCLA team that is basically nothing but offense.
And a Cincinnati team that's been on the come up for like a very long time. Troy Payne, Justin Jennifer, Gary Clark Jr. Like, there's a lot of killers on that team. And that team, I think it's Mick Cronin's team, right?
Yes.
Like, that team's been coming up for a while. Like, we've been waiting for maybe 2 or 3 years to see Cincinnati at its full power again. This ain't your granddaddy Cincinnati team. We've been waiting for this Cincinnati team. So, with so many great guards, again, Jennifer and Troy Payne, on top of a killer in the front court of Gary Clark Jr., this is a stacked team, and they've been waiting to get to the Elite Eight. They've been waiting to make a run. So it's about time Cincinnati gets to come up.
Stacked to the point that they can give UCLA a late run, that UCLA has to win in the last 30 seconds.
Stacked to the point they're going to give UCLA some trouble.
Okay.
The whole game long.
Okay.
But, I mean, if history tells us anything, we about to see a Lonzo Ball step-back jumper for 3 that's going to look real ugly, but it's going to go in. We're like, oh, my God, no, how'd that happen? But we mess with you, so...
This is true. And so Lonzo Ball's surrounded by a ton of talent, more talent than Cincinnati has, I think that's fair to say. There's a Holiday coming off the bench. Aaron Holiday comes off the bench for UCLA. So Lonzo Ball is shooting he's shooting under 30% from 3 against the best teams they've played on the road.
Have you seen his jumper, though?
I have seen his jumper. It is excellent. But it's excellent because it's just entertainment. It is just like, I don't know how arms and elbows move in concert like that. But is that something that might worry you? If they have Kentucky, it'll be, I think Memphis is where that game will be in that region.
Nah.
You're not worried about, you think Lonzo Ball gets to, he is on the stage and he'll get there?
It's a tournament of guards, again.
Yeah.
It's a tournament of guards. So Lonzo Ball is going to be somebody that is going to perform at the highest level when the lights are on. That's extremely cliched, but that's just what it is. Like, Lonzo Ball is a great player, one of the best players in the country, and he's going to perform. And the best part about it is, even if he don't, TJ Leaf, Thomas Welsh, a Holiday coming off the bench.
Yep.
You've got enough players around.
Bryce Alford hasn't missed a 3 since 2002.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got enough players coming off the bench, enough players on your floor that it really wouldn't matter if you're putting up 14 in a triple-double. It wouldn't matter if you're scoring 2 points a game. It's enough talent around Steve Alford's team that they're going to win regardless.
Can Kentucky keep winning if they're going to shoot so poorly from outside and rely on so many freshmen? Malik Monk, unquestionably great. But they needed, what did Bam Adebayo, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Bam.
Bam went for 15 and 18 because they were missing so many shots.
Because
he is a completely grown man. But can Kentucky compete with Adebayo, Wichita State, and UCLA, 2 teams that if you are not playing, if you are not hitting consistently, they'll just beat you?
I think on paper, at least for Wichita State, that Kentucky is just so much better than Wichita State.
They are, yeah.
Kentucky is so much better. This is the thing that, like, outside of the coaching, maybe being better on the other side, that, like, there's too much talent on the floor.
De'Aaron Fox is ridiculous.
Right, De'Aaron Fox faster than Usain Bolt. Like, there's too much talent on the floor, too many guards on the floor, too many different matchups that Kentucky should win. I mean, it would be something outrageous if we saw that Wichita State team win.
Okay. They couldn't separate for a good chunk against North Kentucky.
They won
the Norse. They did win. They win by 9 despite shooting like 3 of 17 from outside. So if you're winning doing that, that's a good sign because they're probably not going to go 3 of 17
That's
again.
the thing, like, the coaches kind of get hype about. And coach speaks, so, like, if you're Calipari, if you're Jay Wright, and you have an ugly first-round matchup,
right.
You go back to your kids and you say, hey, fam, that was real ugly. So let's figure this out and let's be better, right? You give some type of coach speak, like fully remember the Titans type level stuff that is going to get your team going in some kind of fictional way. And they're going to be like, all right, fam, we better come out and, bust it.
And it's totally reasonable to assume a bunch of freshmen, their first NCAA game, some nerves early on, and by the end of the weekend, they're settled down.
But Cal does this every year.
Yeah, he does.
He does this every year.
He does it. He does it every year. And here is the big question. So, odds are Kentucky will probably lose at some point. Now, we asked the important questions. I said it. If and when they lose, where does Drake go fan-wise?
He's a UCLA fan.
Immediately. He'll take off the Kentucky hat.
Ball got the Bel Air Rosé.
Yep.
They chilling out here in Roscoe's, eating chicken and waffles, and he about to have a Lonzo Ball, Big Baller Brand hoodie on.
I just want to say, what a wonderful world it is that Drake needs LeVar Ball for attention. Drake needs a basketball dad to get attention.
I mean, have you met Drake?
I have not.
Do you know Drake's brand? Like,
that's
really on brand. Drake was out here wearing Zion Williamson's, the 16-year-old who's out here hitting these monster LeBron type dunks. He's wearing his jersey. All right, so like this is all types of Drake's brand.
He's just a very classy barnacle. He is just on for so many different rides. I like that. I like that a lot.
Drake out here pimping swag, so.
Any other games that interest you? Any other teams? We had Gonzaga eventually pulling away, and they get Northwestern.
Gonzaga going to eventually lose.
Okay.
So Not really. Not too many other teams. You know, the first few days were a little stale.
Okay.
So we're about to get a little hot. I'm
Yes.
sad. I'm sad.
I think we're due.
We are extremely due. I'm sad my boy Jaquan Newton from Philly lost with Miami, but whatever Michigan State does, we want to watch them too.
Oh, that's true. Michigan State gets the win over Jim Larinaga and Miami, and now they get Kansas. Now they get Kansas, by the way. I was out to dinner last night watching the game.
Getting your steaks off.
He who shall remain unnamed, somebody I was out to dinner with, had Kansas minus 25 last night.
Against who? Against an NBA team?
Against a 16 seed, and Kansas won by 40. So good for Kansas. Kansas is operating. And you know what? That's what happens when you have some upperclassmen that are they're not phased. They're just not phased in the first round.
Your homie was dumb.
And he won. He won. Dumb, but he won. All right. With that, hey, let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Who are you most looking forward to watching? Which coach do you have confidence in? Which matchup looks great? His name is Tyler. He looks wonderful.
I'm so pretty.
He's so pretty. What did you say, husky early on?
I'm just so husky too.
Listen,
hey.
The fact that he's calling himself husky, that's the only husky you're going to get in the NCAA tournament. Sorry, UConn and Washington. So sorry, but not really.
I'm sorry, Washington.
No, absolutely not. So thank you very much for watching. I'm Dan. He is Tyler. We will see you very soon.